Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Another tutorial. I've been trying to figure out by setting up names, like your own custom name. So if you come into the game, you start it, you can type in your own name, right? And there's a lot of certain things you can do that are simplified, like empty name check, etc. But there's not a lot of ways to set up characteristics, like characters, like what you can and what you can't use, and then spaces. Like spaces are a huge problem. So if I'm say like I'm gonna make it where my name will display on a custom name, right? In the sense of, oh, you start the game and then you type in your own name. Now, when you have your name and then you like I'm not gonna show you how you set up like a where you edited the text, blah blah blah, and it sets it. I'm not gonna go through all that. This is more of just like if you're there and you're trying to set up where it's not just an empty text. So your player name in the sense of this. Like you want to make it where it has no space between it at all. Now they do have trimming. That's what it's called. It's called trim, where it'll take certain like before or after like spaces. Like say if you put space bars before your name or after your name, it'll do that. There's nothing like that for spaces in between except for strings, which I'm about to show you how to do. So if we're gonna most of the time you can code this out, but I'm gonna do it in a function because that's how I did it. So you can just call it. So if I have an empty name check, most of the time you would just add an input first off. So this is like after you set up the like the editable text box and you're setting it, and you don't want you know like that you'll run this check after that. Now this will just check is the text empty or not. Like, did you add anything to the text? Now, if you wanted to, like, say your UI and like the text that I have, as you've just seen, right? I can set it as a variable if I wanted to. Like, that's the simplest way. And then you can drag it in, right? You could just, like, you can just, and then if the name is empty, we can keep it true, right? We don't want to do nothing. We don't want to add anything in that box. You want it to be blank, but you wouldn't do this. You would do a separate where it would have its own like variable that you would just set on there. You know what I mean? Like instead of me setting it as a variable, like the where you like right here where it says text, you would add a binding to it to that variable, if that makes sense. Create a bind. I would have a variable. like so, and that would be this, right? Like that, bam. What's the name? Sorry, text, text. And then when you do that, you would go, you would take this, you would just set this to this text, like that. Like that's how you would do it. It would set that text. If it was empty, it was true, and there's nothing, it would just keep it empty. Now, say if you started typing, and this is where you would be able to set it up where you can check if it's only ABC characters, like the alphabet, or spacebar. So we need to make it a variable, make that a string. It's going to be an array. Now we need to populate said array. I did not come up with this, by the way. It was somebody, but their video is just music. You need 26 array elements. Now what we do is we toString, get character array from string. Then this is where it's going to pretty much like get our last known input and then set it, check it if it does contain any letter from the alphabet. Now we're going to get a reference and then from the ABC array, get the container, like what is in, what contains in there. Hold B for branch, connect that up like so. Now we need to do this is how we're going to get rid of the sense of spaces. Is how we want to put it. It's just called replace. It's pretty much what it's called. Now, anywhere you want to do just one spacebar, like so, and confirm it. Keep the two completely empty. Now, there is things called like left chop and stuff like that, where like, because some people out there do hit spacebar after they're done typing, or like, and also this is just, you can do this with periods. Like if you wanted to, you would type this again and then also do like a period if you wanted to. This, I don't know if this works, like replace, replace. I haven't tried that. But I know this will work, but you can do the same thing with periods, commas. You just add it right there from to make it blank so people can't do that. And then to text string, right? Then off of now, I don't know, there's a lot of people that, want limits on what you can do. Get a length or length rather, but it's called length. I'm sorry. And if it's greater Greater than I nor like uncommon in video games is 16. 16 characters. So if our name it contains, you know, actual letters, it's true. We want to check to make sure it's not exceeding our limit of 16 characters. And then at this point, you would get your player name and then set it to this. Now, if it's false, you would still set this, but you would disable the accept button in the sense. You would have an accept button saying like, "Oh, do you accept your name?" Like off this, we'll just add it. You want to be it's just a boolean. That's, not a right. You'd be like, "Oh no, the accept button is not enabled because we don't there's nothing in there." And then say if you start typing and it reaches all the parameters like I said, it goes over 16 characters. We don't want to enable. Then you would do off the fall, say it's under 16 characters. We would want to enable the button, and then you would be able to accept your thing. But this is how. But the same thing here. Like, say if you're typing, right, and they hit spacebar, right, it won't matter. You, but if you want to like let them know, like, hey, you shouldn't be putting space bars, you can add this right here, default, but it'll still like say if you type space bar, it'll say, hey, accept buttons defaulted, like you can't use it, it's disabled. But as soon as you start typing again, it'll say, oh, it's enabled. But you don't have to actually add this at all. You can remove that. And as soon as they type any spaces in their name, period, as soon as they hit accept and it accepts it, it'll make them literally disappear with this. Replace this with literally blank. It'll remove all spaces. There is other things like beginning and after. It's called trim, but that doesn't remove every space in everybody's name. But that's how you do it, right there. This is mainly how you set up a check for alphabet, replace the alphabet with the spaces, two blanks, and set a character limit. I'm not gonna like I said, I'm not gonna show you how to set up a pretty much like a player profile because you should already know how to do this. That's why you're watching this video. But if you don't know how to do that, there's plenty of videos out there. It's called like player info, player creation screen, et cetera, et cetera. There's a bunch of names for it. That there's plenty of tutorials out there to do it. But this is how you can just do a empty name check and specify that they cannot use spacebar or any other characters like out of the alphabet. If it ain't ABC, you're not allowed to use it. Period. Even if you try to type commas and all that stuff, like that's why you don't really. It's not in your array. You can't type commas and stuff. It'll literally say that is not an acceptable letter. Period. Even if you space bar type, it will not allow it because it's not. It does not contain ABCs. I hope that helps. I hope you know that clears anything up. If you're having a problem with this, which I was having, until then, see you in the next one.